Eeps. I know we should never expose the date of when we record things because we try to be spontaneous.
Try to be clandestine.
Yep. But happy Friday the 13th.
Happy Friday the 13th.
October.
And October.
Yes.
Yes. Almost, not to give it away to the listeners, but we're 2 days away from your birthday.
Yes, guys. I'm
excited?
October 15th. Oh, yeah, I'm always excited for my birthday.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Any plans?
I mean, I'm more excited about Friday the 13th. I think that you'll be involved in the plans. So
Okay.
we're going to do like some happy hour or something really low key.
I love
Nothing.
a good low-key birthday. I feel like low-key birthdays are for your 30s.
We'll probably go to my parents' house and barbecue or something and just have some drinks and stuff. Something
Nice.
very low key, and we'll have the Jets game on because I think they play at 3:30.
They do, and
might be
it
like
is
around-
actually airing here, like on
Is it?
television.
Maybe
Yes, I checked it.
Maybe it's because the Eagles.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll be a diehard Jets fan this coming Sunday, and
I'm
maybe
here
the
for it.
biggest gift for my birthday is that the Eagles get their first loss.
I would love to give you that gift.
I would
That
love
would be
that too.
my best gift, my favorite gift to give you.
Yes.
And by the way, not only happy Friday the 13th, and also listeners, please send Betsy some happy birthday messages.
Thank you.
But
Lauren will give them all to me.
yes, exactly. But happy Taylor Swift Eras Tour movie release date.
I know. We got it. We've got to see it.
I
We'll get tickets.
yeah.
Do you want to go to the Alamo
So
or no preference?
Alamo could do Alamo,
What are
could
you
do
feeling?
wherever. You know what?
I feel like you had something you wanted to say.
I pick is good. Movie House, Cineplex,
I
Regal.
love Movie House. I pick Movie House.
All right, we gotta
can get down with
find
that.
a time.
Okay.
We gotta find a time to go see it. But yeah, we're here. There is a key member
Yes.
missing today.
Mm-hmm.
Lauren had some things to take care of, so Betsy and
We're
I
doing
are
a duo.
going rogue.
Yeah, Apes and I are gonna recap the combustion that was the OC 2-part reunion. And then listen, things to be grateful for. I'm grateful that there weren't 3 parts.
Yeah,
Do you feel me on
yes,
that? Okay.
I do. Well,
Okay.
because I thought it was 2 solid parts.
Okay.
I thought that they were, definitely didn't need to be 3.
correct. I agree.
100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all over.
I'm not disappointed.
Okay.
I'm really not.
Well, we'll get into that. Speaking of reunions
Okay.
and being disappointed
and Friday the 13th scare.
and Friday the 13th
Scare
jump
factor.
scares, have you seen the RHOC reunion trailer?
I mean, yes. And when I say that it ended and I thought, wait, what? That was it? Now, listen, if you have listened to Lauren and my recaps at all, we've been very, very harsh, especially of late.
Yes.
Of RHOC. But when I saw the reunion, I thought, okay, maybe that there's, I'm looking forward to seeing some accountability. I'm looking forward to seeing some hard-hitting questions. I'm not saying that maybe those don't happen, but what I am telling you is I don't know that those do happen because that trailer that they put together, nothing happens except Uba's crying. And why is Uba, what's happening here?
Why is it, first of all, whoever made Uba cry is on my shit list.
Yeah, fuck you.
Fuck you. And yeah, I mean, look, I thought the reunion trailer was garbage.
It was terrible.
It was terrible. And if that's the best that they've got, I wish it was only no parts. And I know it's going to be 2. I
Just
feel
a
like
short film, like 10 minutes maybe.
just like that 1-minute trailer and be done.
Yeah.
Because the one thing I could hope is, with a first season cast, they don't know what they're getting into. You don't totally understand the process. You will never have that experience again. And that's a kind of reductive thing to say, but how, watching back the show, seeing how other people talk about you and situations in confessionals, seeing the other scenes that you were not a part of, and also being able to maybe be a little self-reflective in how you handled things when you watch yourself back. I mean, it is a fucking mirror, right? That you don't really get to see in your day-to-day life off camera. And my takeaway is, did they all not watch the show? And really, especially, I'm looking at Erin and Sai, but Erin, okay.
I'm already getting the vibes from Erin with that tiny little clip that we saw. I had a really bad summer, okay?
Oh,
so my
God.
bad summer that has nothing to do with the show, do not come for me because I had a bad summer.
It was
okay.
hard.
I didn't get to go to the Hamptons. I don't, my child didn't get into a certain, fucking whatever they do.
Summer camp.
Yeah, exactly. You have to fill in the blanks for me with this, with the.
Team tour, whatever the fuck.
I just I'm already getting that vibe.
Yeah.
And also none of these women have gone through, but you know who has? Andrew Cohen. And I hope that Andrew I hope he comes hard and he comes clear and he collects.
I agree. I think, man, I really, really hope that Andrew is fair in his hosting. The way that he has gone hard and tried to hold housewives accountable in past reunions, on past seasons of every single franchise. I hope he does not go too soft on these women, because there were a lot of problems this season.
Tons.
Hands down. Are there some glimmers of, possibility for season 2, which I know we've been saying all year. You guys have been saying all year, season whatever. Sure.
No.
But
maybe.
Uba, Jessel,
yes, okay.
and Brynn. Okay. And Jenna, who probably will not come back.
Yeah.
Also, what the fuck was Uba's comment about the real Jenna being a badass, but Jenna on the show is a victim?
I don't know.
What was that about?
The editing. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know. I don't want to comment on that yet because I'm not quite sure. And also, Jenna didn't even seem like she knew what was going on. So
no,
who knows?
And she's wearing some very kind of niche brand called Levi's.
Levi's, guys. Even I know what Levi's is. So.
Also, I love that Jenna's wearing Levi's to the reunion.
Because she's cool enough and she can do it.
She's too cool for this show, and she's too cool for this group.
Yeah.
That's just the truth.
She's definitely too cool for some of them. And I think early to midway through this season, I could take or leave Jenna because I was just very indifferent. I thought she was cool as an individual. I did not think she fit. I don't want to sit here now on we're about to see the season finale. We're right on the cusp of the season finale. I don't know that I'm like, she belongs in this group. I don't know that I feel that. But as a viewer, I would be willing to take her back because I do think she is, interesting enough to have on the show. Yeah. Do I think she will come back? That's a whole other situation. So we'll see. But
I hope she does, because I do think that she's one of my favorites. I think that she is really interesting. And I do think that she, oddly enough, understood the assignment in a way. She did open up about things when given the opportunity. It's just that she wasn't given the opportunity very often. And when she did, her efforts were thwarted by Erin. Talking about her genetic illness or disorder, rather, and then how that was perpetuated with the women in Anguilla, sorry. Yeah. I just, that reunion trailer did not leave me excited to have some sort of resolution. I don't really care to watch it either. I mean, I will.
Well, we will.
We'll have to discuss whether or not
Eeps and Lauren will recap it for y'all.
Well, or we'll have to discuss whether or not that's something that's recapped.
Touche.
It'll be a solo recap with Richie and Cosmo, our cats.
Yeah, the cats.
The cats will do a very in-depth and intelligent recap.
It'll be so engaging. Everything y'all want, I promise.
Yeah, I swear.
Now, I did hear about some other big Bravo news a couple days ago.
What's that?
Which I don't know if you've heard of yet, which is apparently not only did Chris Bassett, married to Candace from Potomac, not only did he have an affair,
oh my God,
but apparently it got out, which I think is kind of sinister, but it got out that I guess the woman that he had an affair with had an abortion, and that information got out. I haven't heard much more about it, and to my knowledge, as of yet, I don't know that we have statements from either party.
I haven't seen any.
But just with that information alone, and guys, listen, we take everything with a grain of salt here at Reality Bites, okay? But it's out there. So, one, have you heard of it? And two, what are your overall just thoughts?
I have heard of this.
Okay.
Lauren and I were talking about it. I mean, what the fuck? Okay, my thoughts are this. I'm disappointed in Chris. I think that it does paint a weird light over some of the drama and not allegations, but some of the
storylines of last season
of the women, especially Giselle last season. Now, look, Chris having an affair, whether it is true or not, and let's assume that it, just for the argument's sake, let's assume that it is true and that this woman had an abortion. Okay. That doesn't mean that Chris came on to Giselle. first and foremost, right? So like,
wasn't even
it
thinking
doesn't
about that.
necessarily give credence to like Giselle's whole cockamamie nonsense last season, but maybe it does. What I will say is this: it is really disappointing and really fucked up, because I also saw something that, you know, the abortion happened a few months ago based on this. I guess the alleged mistress sent a picture to some blogger or social media outlet with her. It was like a nude, and it was something of him with the abortion paperwork. So, and the timeline seems
Like he was holding the paperwork?
I'm not, I think
That seems very odd.
something like that. Don't quote me, guys. The fact checking I'll need to do after this.
Yeah.
But there was something about a picture of him, a nude picture, and in a picture there being like paperwork from the abortion, which took place a few months ago when apparently Candace was in the process of going through IVF.
Yeah. Oh, God.
And it's like, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, that is.
You know,
for sure.
I really, every couple has their issues, and, you know, being on reality TV and having issues is not easy, for sure, which we'll definitely talk about in this episode when it comes to like Shannon and John Jansen and all that shit. But
Paralyzed.
But I really,
You liked
I
them.
liked Chris and Candace together.
Yeah.
I thought that they were a solid, and, you know, I thought that they were a solid couple and that they really have each other's backs. And this is just, if it's true, it's very disappointing. And then the added layer for me is that this obviously wasn't covered on the show. And now this is another season
God,
where
right, because they already wrapped, didn't they?
they wrapped a while ago.
Yeah, that's gonna
and
be
this is
disappointing.
another season where, you know, coming off of last season with the Robin Juan of it all, which
God,
I
snooze.
called for Robin's head because I think it's bullshit. And yes, snooze. And the way that she, you know, released the information on Patreon behind a paywall was bullshit. And I
Done
think that
with
should have been
Robin.
penalized. So am I. I can't stand Robin. You know, on this, with this, I can give more leniency because I don't think Candace knew. So it's
Yeah,
not
Robin
like
knew.
Robin knew and withheld.
Yeah.
Candace got blindsided after the fact. I'd be surprised in today's climate if they didn't pick cameras back up to film something.
Maybe. I would hope.
Because that is the standard that's kind of been set out there in the Bravo verse.
Right.
But yeah, that was fucking surprising and disappointing.
Yeah, now and I know that Lauren and I, we kind of fell off of Potomac because both of us were very underwhelmed by last season.
Yeah.
But I can confidently speak for Lauren that Potomac is one of her favorite franchises. She loves Potomac, and so do I. And so
Same.
when we made the decision to stop covering Potomac, it was kind of gut-wrenching because we love these women, and it's been historically a really strong, really good franchise. But the last couple seasons haven't been very good.
No, they haven't.
My relationship with Candace has always been very negative. Meaning, like, Candace.
Right, you're not a big Candace fan.
I'm not a Candace fan. But of late, honestly, Candace was one of the few like cast members of the last season that I actually really, really liked. And then when she went on that horrific, dreaded, she went on that girls' trip, right?
Yes,
she did.
she was
Okay.
on the
That's
girls'
right.
trip.
That was the worst girls' trip, but she was one of the only like lightning in the bottles. Like she was one of the only interesting things of that girls' trip.
Agreed.
You know what I mean?
She was fucking
Like,
fantastic.
And so I kind of started being like, okay, I'm starting to have my up with Candace, and I'm starting to, you know, think that she's always been funny. She's always been quick. She's always been very sassy, kind of bitchy, but I've always found her very annoying. But of late, because my relationship with Giselle is very much slipping. It's starting to be,
We're having an inverse relationship.
We're in trouble. Our parasocial relationship is in trouble. I've really kind of started to see the upside of Candace, and I really, really liked her. With that said, she and Chris, I always thought was a little bit of like, I don't know. Their relationship's always been up and down for me.
Okay.
Of course, I'm disappointed if this is true, and the added layer of the abortion. I think that that's sad that that's out there. Not the abortion. Do what you want with your body. I don't care about that. But just that this is
That
very
this affair
public.
has happened and it's led to this.
And if this is true, you do put that on top of Candace having issues getting pregnant.
Yeah.
I know that was a big part of her storyline last season, and I know that it's such a hard subject for women who want to have a baby, and it's not as easy for everyone, right?
Right.
So I am sad for her. We'll see. I guess we'll see what happens. I do agree with you. I don't think this is going to be covered on the show. I do hope that they say cameras go back up, not because I want to see Candace in pain or anything, but at the same time, this is what you get paid for. We do need to see the fallout. We need to see the conversations. And I do think that both Candace and Chris will show up in a real way and have like a conversation on camera. Like I could see both of them doing that. Whereas Robin and Juan fucking forget about it. But yeah, I was kind of sad, but what I will say is I believe it. Yeah. I believe that he probably has had
dalliances.
Yeah. Maybe not long-time affairs, but like I think he's absolutely, stepped out.
Yeah, fuck. I don't disagree, and it is disappointing. Lauren likes to remind me that I used to not like Candace. I don't recall that. Okay. But
maybe she's confusing us. But
no, well, that's what
I was very vocal about.
By the way,
I
mine. Have pointed this out that maybe she is thinking of you.
She's like, no.
But she's like, no, it is you two. And frankly, my ADD addled brain, I can't speak with 100% confidence that that's not the case. What I can say is, in any recent memory, I have very much been Team Candace, and I've loved Candace. And this is disappointing. And I'm sad for her. I hope that she's doing all right. And I do think that, I feel like we'll probably see something because the show's about to premiere. It's going to be a long time before they're filming again.
And I think maybe Lauren and I were talking about this, but like you bring up last season and like the rumblings of like, Giselle feeling uncomfortable with him going into the dressing room. And then that ridiculous other, accusation that they had when they had that party and there was a camera and they were like, Chris was hitting on that woman.
Oh my God.
And you literally look at the camera and Chris is like barely even looking at this person.
It's like Chris not talking to that woman.
Exactly. It was like such a reach.
Yeah.
But I wonder if there have been rumblings, maybe not of this particular situation, but there have been rumblings that Chris has stepped out. He works late, he does all this. And so maybe Giselle or some other people had some rumblings of like, he's having an affair. And maybe they were trying to drop little nuggets so something would catch, but nothing really caught.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's a small community, isn't it? Isn't Potomac small?
Absolutely is small, and they fucking gossip.
So, I mean...
That's an interesting theory.
So we'll see this season if there's any more rumblings of that, or maybe because they were so burned last season, maybe everyone's going to kind of try to move on and not talk about it. I don't know, but... I think it's just disappointing all the way around.
It is. I agree. And I got to be honest, from the trailer at the very least, I'm not that excited for this season either. It doesn't. No. I'm waiting for a rebuilding season of Potomac. Like I believe we had this season with Orange County, and it just doesn't look like this coming season is it.
Yeah.
The fact that they didn't lose a single cast member was a mistake. I think that
they needed 2 to go. And you know which 2 needed to go.
Mia
and Robin,
yes.
A Robin demote to a friend of.
Robin, that's
Robin
what I
doesn't need to be completely off the screen, but she needs to be a friend of.
I agree, and I definitely did not need to see Mia again.
No,
I'm not.
Oh, and this whole season's going to be about their relationship.
God,
Bravo,
hard pass.
Oh, we don't care. I'll speak for myself. I don't give a flying fuck.
I don't care.
I don't care if they get a divorce. I don't care if this is fake.
I don't care if we never see him again. Like that actually I do care about. I'd rather just not see them again.
Yes.
So we'll see how this season goes. But look, maybe coming off the heels of this, next season or the following one that they'll film in 8 months, 7 months, maybe that will be the rebuilding season. But I don't have super high hopes for this one.
No, I don't either.
Which is a shame. But
it is.
Well,
from one beginning to one ending.
You want to get into it?
Yeah, let's do the fucking OC reunion.
Hey y'all, welcome to Reality Bites, the podcast where we'll deep dive into this week's buzziest reality TV and pop culture happenings.
I'm Betsy, and while I may be 9 to 5 by day, I'm a reality connoisseur by night.
And I'm Lauren, a reality TV producer by trade, but my favorite pastime is dishing unfiltered dirt and behind-the-scenes scoop. We'll tackle the biggest and best water cooler moments of the week through an insider lens you won't find anywhere else.
Buckle up, buttercups.
Please don't tell me it's about Tom.
It's about Tom.
This is Reality Bites.
Well,
the reunion,
ma'am. So, guys, Eeps and I are going to kind of scatter both episodes.
Yes.
We're just going to really talk more like high level about the overall season and just kind of like the highlights of the relationships they tackle throughout the reunion.
Yeah,
It's hard to go like scene by scene in a reunion because it's a reunion, you know? So
exactly. It's not like a traditional recap, but there were definitely,
there's some stuff.
there's relationships that were tackled.
Yeah.
Here's what I will say, just to start out. I think my rose of the entire reunion was the new set.
That was pretty cool.
I mean, I'm a little bit of a nerd when it comes to like the tech stuff and the visuals, and I love directing, and that's like my jam. But I fucking loved this set. I thought it was so cool. Like the log, the beach wood in the foreground, the sand, the panoramic. I thought it was awesome.
I thought it was actually pretty cool too.
Yeah.
Andy goes, close your eyes. Open them. Only Andy can climax you, and then we open it up, and wow, there's my house over there.
The
Gina
reveal.
Says. I don't know if Gina's house is over there, but
I don't know if Gina's house is over there.
I thought it was pretty cool.
I thought it was awesome. I also love that at some point during the reunions, Shannon is like, wait, is this like, is it live? Are those people actually on the beach?
Okay.
I'm like, no, Shannon, it's a fucking video. Come on. Yes, we're doing a live feed
Are they
from
over
Newport
there?
Bay.
John, can you see me?
It's John's son.
Yeah, John's son.
Hello.
John's son
Hello.
hates me. Hello, it's me. Or maybe the daughter hates her. I don't know which one.
I think they all hate her.
God, probably
Jesus.
so. How many kids does John have? 3?
Only maybe
2, 3?
I don't know. I know about the son and a daughter,
Okay,
so
so at least
it could
2.
be at least 2, could be more.
So she's either batting 0 for 2 or maybe 0 for maybe
However,
1.
over 3.
1 and 3.
I feel like
don't know.
all of his kids don't like her. We know she's
Well, John
gotten-
doesn't like her.
Well,
So.
John doesn't like her.
I mean,
either.
it's been a tough road for Shannon. No pun intended.
I
but-
also love that, or not love, but I found it interesting that they kept, showing a what the fuck is it called? A slate card in each reunion about how this was filmed 10 days prior
I know.
to Shannon's arrest.
Yeah.
Which,
What a bummer.
what a bummer. But, look, it's given the timeline, it's not totally surprising. Shannon
She's a mess.
is a mess. She doesn't look great.
Well, this is what I will say. I think it is a little disappointing that we get the reunion prior to this happening. But I will say, if we get the reunion right on the heels of this, either one, Shannon doesn't show up.
Right. Totally.
Or 2, a lot of the topics that we talk about in this reunion are going to be washed because it's going to be all about the
Skewed.
fallout of what happened to Shannon. Maybe Gina doesn't come as hard for Shannon. So it's
Right.
like there are some glimmers that I think it's positive that it actually came before this happened.
I agree. I absolutely
Because she does
agree.
seem like she's a mess.
Oh yeah, she seems all over the place and like an absolute mess. And and we know what happens in about a week and a half from now. But this is the first reunion with Tamara back in 3 years. Happy to see her.
next to Andy.
I mean, are we surprised?
No, of course not.
She's reclaimed her
course
throne. The
not.
fact that it's Heather and Tamara on the edge, flanking Andy, is just very apropos.
Yeah.
100%.
Of course.
And, I think, what is, Andy asks her something like, how did it feel being back? And she says that she was nervous. She drank so much.
Oh, yeah.
Because she was nervous. Yeah, no
Yeah,
shit,
we got
Sherlock.
that. We got that.
We got that.
Yeah, a lot of tequila.
Lots.
She was training
Of
for the
tequila.
Tres Amigas tour.
She was
basically, is
training
what
for
was
the Tres
happening.
Amigas Olympics. I mean, shit. But yeah, and Tamara had her fucking tentacles in almost every mess this season in one way or another. One of the biggest of which was her kerfuffle with Jen.
I want to give the kudos to Jen because I thought Jen showed up ready to go.
Absolutely.
And everything she said, she just put it on out there. She was strong. She didn't waver much. And Tamara, every time Tamara tried to like punt it back to her, I thought she did a pretty good job putting Tamara in her place.
I agree. First time housewife, first time reunion. Reunions are stressful.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a whole day of just hammering away at every fucking thing, right?
Yeah.
And she did. She rallied it right back to Tamara. And Tamara's, I mean, to say she's a seasoned pro is an understatement.
She's tough.
She's tough. She knows what the fuck she's doing. And Jen was really self-assured. And, you know, look, there were some things that were brought up about certain discrepancies in Jen's story throughout the season. And
the dick pic. Where did it happen?
Right, where did it happen? Was it you were in bed and Ryan was in the shower? Were you on a plane? I mean, what's your take on this kind of this back and forth? Is it indicative of Jen lying about things? Is it, you know, it is confusing, but what was your takeaway from that?
My takeaway is that Jen knows all, and Jen's protecting.
Yeah.
So I think that absolutely the dick pic was sent to her and it was meant to be sent to somebody else. I'm sure they had a conversation about it. It's like when you're choosing to be in a relationship with someone that you know is a cheater, and she told us day 1, day 2 that he's cheated in every relationship that he's been a part of.
Yes.
He's technically cheated with her, even though we're on quote unquote friendship break from friends.
The 2-week break.
The 2-week break, he slept with at least one person. So I think that what she's doing is, you know, she's coming on TV. She doesn't want her relationship to be a joke. So...
Yeah.
And the thing that I always loved about Jen is there was nothing that came up on camera that Jen did not know.
No.
So it was more about how do I well, yeah, I knew that. And I think the dick pic is the the thing that is the most embarrassing.
Totally.
Because there's factual evidence. There's tangible text messages of whatever limp dick he's sending, which please, I don't ever want to fucking see that.
Who sends a limp
I don't know,
dick
guys.
photo?
Dick pics are so overrated. I'm just going to tell you.
Agreed. Obviously.
But a limp dick?
But a limp dick?
What the fuck? Who
wants
wrote
that?
Who wrote that up in the... I don't get it. And that just shows you how much confidence I guess he has. And God bless you.
Look,
whatever.
Maybe he's got a good-looking limp dick. I don't know, but...
I don't think so.
Gross.
But I think it was just, you know... She probably didn't maybe remember the circumstances. She said when it originally aired, when they were in Montana, she said it was on the plane. And then I guess when she retold the story, which I don't think was on camera, but other people said when she retold it, she was in bed. So yes, she obviously lied, guys, because I think she's trying to protect the relationship and she's trying not to look like a loser.
Yeah.
And I don't really fault her for that because she's still with him, unfortunately. And
they released some fucking video recently.
Lauren showed me. I was very confused.
I was like, please, that lost a few points in my book.
Just because he's so gross. I think she'll shake him loose at some point. I really do.
I do too.
I really, really like her. And I thought she did a really good job because the whole season, she stood her ground, but she did it in a very kind of muted way. Like, she didn't really say much. She kind of went with the flow. And
she wasn't radical.
Whatever. She wasn't radical, but she showed up to the reunion. Not overstated, but she's like, I'm going to defend my relationship and I'm going to defend myself against my quote unquote friend I thought I had coming in.
Right.
And to go toe to toe with Tamara, and I think Tamara backed down towards the end.
She did.
I mean, yeah, I give it up to Jim.
So do I. And I totally agree with everything you said. I think that, you know, is it a great look when you look at it from a 30,000 foot view of all of the things that Jen said towards the beginning of the season and then as the season progressed? Yeah, there are definitely discrepancies. She was lying to protect her relationship. Mm-hmm. She knew the extent of what had happened. She knew that Ryan had these conversations. Maybe she doesn't know the full extent, but she knows a good amount.
Yeah.
And she made a conscious choice to tell a certain version of the story because she didn't want to have to continually defend her relationship against, as you said, her friend. I mean, I think at some point, Tamara, maybe it was last week, the first part rather, where Tamara says that she didn't bring her on the show. I think that's bullshit. Jen's connection to the show was Tamara.
Right.
She did not anticipate Tamara being the one to lead the charge
against her
repeatedly throughout the entire season against her and her relationship. And look, this is something we've seen from Tamara before. We saw it with Brooks and Vicky, which Tamara was in the right. Brooks is a fucking gross human that we had to deal with for 5 years. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I think Ryan's gross.
I think he's gross
but
too.
At the end of the day, Jen is an adult and she knows what she's doing. She's not getting bamboozled by things to the best of our knowledge. And she was kind of saying back the fuck off. And Tamara was a dog with a bone.
She was.
And she was coming for her all season. I think that Jen did a really good job holding her own. Mm-hmm. I think that I also, Andy brings up that he invited Ryan to come be on the reunion and clear things up, and he declined. I, like Heather, do not fucking blame him. No good was going to come from being in front of the firing squad.
No.
None. Now,
No.
did I need to see him at the end of the second part of the reunion when they meet outside and he came to pick her up and they're kissing and hug? Didn't need that
we don't
either.
see that at all.
But, I do think that Tamara, I feel like we saw tangible growth from Tamara from the beginning of the first part of the reunion to the end of the second part. She shows up with these text receipts that she shows to Andy. She's still kind of keeping with the party line. But by the end, I liked that moment where she and Jen hugged it out and she said, I really just want what's best for you. I will drop it. And, I love you and I want to move forward.
But did you see how many times Jen had to be like, for real?
I know.
Like, are you serious? Guys, in that 30-second exchange, it was Jen like, wait, but Tamara, bullshit or no bullshit? Tell me, for real or not?
For real?
Or not?
For real, for real?
For real, for real. And
Like,
then finally
real,
she was like, okay.
Okay, I'll believe it. It's like, I'll believe it when I see it sort of thing, but I'm willing to give it a shot.
Yeah. Guys, I'm happy that Ryan did not come.
Same.
I'm happy he didn't come. We wouldn't have accomplished anything. Honestly, I think it would have made it worse for Jen. And also, I know that this storyline was a big part of the season. I get it. But I also don't like it. If none of the other men are coming, I don't need one man to come.
I agree.
Jen is strong enough to handle this on her own. I thought she did a good fucking job. We don't need Ryan there to go to bat and battle with fucking Tamara. We don't need it.
No, we don't. And, I think Tamara's overstepping. She has been overstepping this whole time.
Oh, always.
Get away from that. Like, he's a piece of shit. Tamara, I love Tamara. I do think that there were some shortcomings this season, which I believe were
only shortcomings.
alcohol fueled and being back on the show. And I think that we talked about the reptilian brain. I think her reptilian brain went into hyperdrive this season, being back and trying to be back in it and be the best OC housewife she can be. And I think that it does feel to me like she has learned some things and kind of recognized that in watching herself back. I guess time will tell.
She does it every year, though.
I know,
something.
it's true. It's true.
Listen, Tamara has a leg up against Shannon because Shannon doesn't ever take any accountability at all. At least Tamara can try to sometimes take accountability. I just don't think it ever sticks. And that if anybody said anything to Eddie, even if it wasn't anything substantial, even if it was like, well, where's Eddie? What's going on with Eddie?
It would be fucking...
Why isn't Eddie around? Even though nothing other than that, Tamara would have gone crazy. She would have blown a fuse.
Blown a fuse, And she did even blow fuses in the moment a little bit in this, before she kind of comes to in this reunion where, Tamara yells to Jen, well, stop saying shitty things about me. She's like, well, you're a shitty friend. Well, you're a shitty person. All right, Tamara, take a breath.
She started doing the repeating.
Yes.
And that's when
the one-upping.
That's when you're wrong because what you're doing is just hurtling back what people are saying to you.
Yes.
You're a shitty friend. Well, you're a shitty friend. And Jen's like, all right, well, that's what I said. And then Tamara's like, okay, wait a minute. And it's like, all right.
And she kind of comes to.
She does.
Yeah. But, I agree that I'm glad that Ryan didn't show up. I think that there are some Housewives franchises that really benefit from the men having a segment on the reunion.
Like
Jersey is a huge one. But this one doesn't. The husbands are not as involved. What I will say, just as an aside from the season, and I think we've all talked about this too, is with Eddie, I wish we had seen more of Tamara and Eddie. They came into this season at a very kind of weird time in their lives with closing down Cut Fitness.
Yeah.
We teed up certain things in the first episode and her first scene that never got followed and fell through and followed through on. And, one thing I'll say that I hope for next season is that we do get to dive a little bit more into Eddie and Tamara's relationship now, 4 years at that point, 4 years after we've really seen them since the last time. Because, it wasn't since season, 10? What season is this? 13?
17?
Jesus Christ, I'm so far off.
Yeah.
So since season 14, when she left, we were definitely ingratiated with Eddie and Tamara's relationship. We were not ingratiated this season. He barely showed up. I'd like to see more of what's going on there.
No, I agree.
But I thought that there was some good resolution.
Yeah, I think so.
And I also loved when Tamara, when they're talking about the dick pic, turns to Andy, you send them. You've definitely sent dick pics.
And he's like,
Tamara, shut up.
Maybe so.
I know.
As he does.
He totally does. So Tamara and Jen resolution, which is nice.
I love a good resolution. It's my favorite.
You and the friendships, it's the friendship
Honestly,
resolutions, it's your thing.
When I say that I'm easy, y'all, I mean I'm easy in a sense of like watching the ending of Orange County. I will bitch, and moan and complain, but then I'm like, oh, look at all of them. They're all coming together. I'm just such an easy target.
I know. And that's fair.
None of it will last. But
No.
I appreciate it in the moment, especially looking at Heather and Tamara. That's not lasting. But
No.
And kudos to Shannon, because Shannon she made no amends. She's like, whatever, I'm just sitting here silent. But Tamara and
I'm gonna
Heather are
make
like,
excuses.
oh, I love you. I love you too.
I love you. I've always loved you.
I'm sad. Terry, I will say, I really love the moment at the end when Heather and Tamara walk out and then Terry
comes up.
And Heather's like, Terry, we're friends again. And Terry's like, yeah. I was like, okay, I really enjoyed that. Again, it won't
I did
last,
too.
but I appreciate
Terry loves Tamara.
the cheap friendship moments for TV, okay? Because
Totally.
it makes me feel warm and fuzzy and it makes me think about Hallmark.
Fair enough. And also, so much
With
of these
cussing.
shows are built around the drama that when you see like the nice moments and the supportive
Yeah.
moments, they accentuate and they're nice.
Yeah.
I also love that this was uncensored. That the cursing was
it's
perfect.
the only way to watch it. Now, let me ask you, because I love to cuss. I love a good fuck, shit, bitch. I love all of them. When Heather cusses, I think something happens to my body. You know what I mean?
Because it feels like it shouldn't happen, and it's
Yeah.
just like, ooh, Heather.
Especially when she says fuck.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, like something happens in my brain. There's like a little tingling sensation. Something ignites. Now, you as a Heather stan.
I do love Heather.
Does that make you feel a certain
I love
way?
when all of them curse. And I love it's like a little bit of
Yeah,
her.
but watching Tamara cuss versus Heather, I mean, it didn't do the same for me.
That's fair. Here's my thing. I think that the women on the show, and I think at times the audience, put Heather on a pedestal that she doesn't really ask for. I think that she can be highfalutin.
that's fair,
I think that
to
she
a
can
certain
be
degree.
like a certain way, but I don't think she views herself at her core as better than everyone else. And I think that this season, looking back at its totality, a lot of the conflict that Heather faced was because everyone makes this assumption that Heather believes that she is better than them.
Yeah.
And therefore they view her words, her actions differently than if those exact words and actions came from someone else.
Sure.
And that to me is disappointing because look, Heather being the good New Yorker from Chappaqua like I am, I know people like Heather, and yes, she is a little prim and proper, but she can also, always think back to that scene where she and Gina were in New York eating a fucking
I
dollar
know.
slice, walking the streets of Manhattan. And I'm like, and that's the real Heather. Her mother is
Yeah.
the one who imposed all these weird kind of strict rules and etiquette
I feel like we
onto her.
need
And I don't
to-
think that that's really her.
Yeah, we need to see her a little bit more in New York.
I'd love that. Not to be confused with New York like Roni. I just mean New York
No.
like
Just
her
New,
in New
just
York.
New York City.
Yeah, agreed.
My God, can you imagine her in this cast?
She would trample them all. She would just
Honestly.
walk all over them. In that case, please, Heather, come in
might
for
have
one
to
season,
get a
trample
Heather-
them, and then get the fuck out.
Yeah, I have to get a Heather t-shirt in that case. I don't want to do that. Yeah.
But yeah. And also, Terry having apparently just had this stroke.
Oh my God. Okay, I forgot about this.
Yeah.
What happened? And then she's like, which I know is like kind of a joke, but it's kind of not. She's like, my breakdown is scheduled for next Saturday.
I know
I'm like,
she-
wait, what? But like, there's an element of that's very true. That
That's
she's
that's
like,
in truth. She's like, I have to hold it together today. There's a lot going on. I have to get through this. I'm waiting to have my
Yeah.
full processing breakdown because it sounds like it was
So
really
Heather,
traumatic.
and he didn't want to go to the doctor. I
Well,
guess
he didn't realize he was having a stroke, and she
Yeah.
did, and they were at dinner. And then what she said, she was chasing him around the streets of wherever they were because he was
Yes.
trying to run away from her.
in an Uber or something.
Yeah. And then eventually he finally realizes I had a stroke. She's like, yeah, I was there.
yeah.
But I didn't realize, I'd seen reports about it, but I didn't realize that had this happened while he was alone or on an airplane or unable to get medical attention quickly, that he would have died.
Yeah, that's really scary.
It's fucking scary.
Yeah.
So I give props to Heather for just showing up and like,
Yeah.
and
She's a
showing up as strong.
professional,
She is.
Eeps, she
She's
is.
an actress.
She's an actor. She's a thespian. And listen, what I will say, because I know that, Terry is always a jump scare for me, but Terry didn't bother me at all this season, mainly because he was barely in it, which I love. Because my biggest issues with Terry throughout the years have been that he inserts himself too much in the women's business. Totally. And I cannot stand that. This year, he didn't do that. I also think they're older. Their kids are older. Things are different.
Yeah, they're in a different phase of their lives.
He didn't bother me at all. And they are a Bravo celebrity couple that if anything actually happened to them in a real way, I would be like, there's no hope for anybody.
There's no hope.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no hope with dope. There's no hope for anybody. There's no fucking hope for anybody.
I agree.
So I hope they can,
I think that, I feel like they're a really good partnership. And I
think so too, and I think they like each other, which is a rarity these days.
It is.
Let's keep them together, and I'm glad that he's okay, and I'm glad that she showed up. Oh, that was me. And I'm glad that at this point she's probably already scheduled her breakdown, and maybe she's feeling relieved.
A release.
Yeah, exactly.
Let out those tears.
The demon has been exorcised.
Yes. Well, from one actor to another, an understudy,
Taylor.
I mean. Were you surprised that she was only in one act, like one segment?
I mean, yes and no. No, because she didn't have any type of real drama other than this one storyline.
That's true.
So they could have kept her. Like, what was that woman's name that they cut out of Jersey?
Oh my God.
Tracy.
Tiki Barber's wife. Yeah. Tracy Barber.
They could have kept her there and cut around her. But she didn't really need to be there because her only source of contingency was this one goofy story about the Oklahoma show or movie that hasn't been made. I don't know, but I do want to watch it if it has.
I think it's been shot, and she said that they cast a very well-known actor.
But we don't know who.
We don't know who, but it was a male role that she was trying to get Heather up for.
You know what? It makes me like Heather even more. Or Taylor, both of them.
I know.
Heather could have some very masculine energy. I think she could do it.
Totally. And I think they both can have kind of strong
Were they supposed to play love interests?
I don't know.
Opposite?
I don't know. I don't think so. I haven't heard that, but I mean, who knows? Who knows?
But yeah, I mean, I really was pleasantly surprised this entire season that I actually really, really liked Taylor for the most part. I would say 90-10.
Yeah.
10% I was annoyed with, but 90% I actually really liked her. But I guess, we didn't need her for more than, this you don't believe and support women.
Right. And it's true. She may have been present for a lot for some of the conversations in the drama, but she wasn't involved really outside of this.
And she can't really engage.
No. And I too, I was not a Taylor fan prior to this season of OC.
Well, she was so annoying on Girls Trip.
She was annoying on Girls Trip, and that was the only time in real recent history that we had her. She was good on Beverly Hills, but that was a different era, and she wasn't my favorite on Beverly Hills in that cast in the beginning. But I fucking loved her on OC. I thought that she was a great addition as a B. She obviously understands how the game is played because she's like an OG.
Sure.
And I really liked it. And this was the only kind of kerfuffle that she was involved with. But I do understand Taylor's heatedness in being called anti-female. I mean, she was in an incredibly abusive relationship with Russell, and she has been very much an advocate for women's rights and domestic violence.
Yeah.
And that, I get it. That's a fucking trigger point for her. Yeah. So to come out and kind of say that, and Heather, for her part, did apologize. And right? I mean, I feel like she took accountability. She owned up to
really,
kind of.
Heather's the only one that kind of made apologies
to anyone and everyone.
Yeah. Whether she believed it or not, she extended the olive branch.
She did. So I was satisfied by that, and I do think it was important for Taylor to kind of speak her piece, especially on that front. Do I blame Heather for being annoyed earlier in the season that they were like making jokes and taking cracks at her acting career? No, it's annoying. It's kind of shitty.
Yeah.
But I get Taylor's response, and I'm glad that she had the platform to pop in. Now, what I was not okay with was whatever the Glam Squad HMU did to her hair and face.
I don't even remember what she looked like.
It was the super dark, smoky eye and the crimped hair.
Oh, well,
maybe
she's
bad.
being Oklahoma clown. I don't know. I don't remember. I honestly don't remember what she looked like. I don't know.
I'll take a hard pass on that one.
Yeah, I don't remember at all. But, I mean, the whole storyline was kind of a little silly because it just goes, toward your woman, Heather, that means she's damned if she does, she's damned if she doesn't. Like the whole thing came from her being like, "Oh, you're so cute." Oh, because she was so patronizing. But it's like, did she really mean it that way? Like, yeah, is that annoying? Yeah, because Heather's annoying, y'all.
She can
Heather's
be.
fucking annoying. But does she always mean like ill will? I don't think so.
No, I think that they're far more Machiavellian. They think she is.
People give her a lot of fucking credit.
They do. They give
think
her
that
more
she's
credit than
like,
she's
a
due.
Christ superstar.
Yeah. Well, she says
Starring
it. She's
on
like,
Broadway.
"Do you think I'm some?" She says it to Shannon
yeah.
later on. Like, "Do you think I'm some like Machiavellian mastermind?" And
Yes, I do.
and she's like, "Jesus Christ, I don't think that Heather is always aware of how she comes across. I don't blame Heather for how she handled the Taylor stuff early on because she's an actress. She has an agent. There are certain
I was on
processes.
Heather's side.
I was on Heather's. I mean, no surprise because I'm a Heather stan.
She loves Heather.
I do love Heather.
She was right though. I'm fair.
And you are
Lauren,
fair.
Lauren's pretty fair too, but like I think it was somewhere within here with Heather and Tamara. I think maybe it's a little bit later, but when Heather's like, not Heather, Tamara was telling Heather, like, you used to call Andy and like bitch about me and tell him that I shouldn't be on the show or whatever.
Right.
And even Andy's like, I got to tell you, Tamara, that didn't happen. And Heather's like, honestly, Tamara, I love you, but if I have 5 minutes with Andy, I'm not talking about you.
I'm talking about my own shit.
I'm talking about myself.
Correct.
And I think you can see in Tamara in that moment that Tamara's kind of like embarrassed because it's like, of course she's not talking about you. I think that people just give Heather too much credit.
Yeah.
Heather's looking up for herself.
Heather, right. And I think she even says about the Andy, she's like, I am such a small cog in the
Correct.
Andy Cohen machine, which is a funny way of saying it. But yeah, if she gets
It's
5
true.
minutes, she's got her own shit to talk about. She's not talking about
Correct.
Tamara. But that to me also just speaks to a greater theme of this entire season and this entire group of women, whether it's on camera or off. There are so many rumors that fly around about what one of the women did say or didn't say or how they said it or didn't say
Yeah.
it, that they all just fucking take as fact and truth and run with it. That why not just go and talk to the person and confront them? And I think Heather, Gina, I feel like a few of them throughout the course of these reunions brought that up in different iterations of like, you know, you were running around and claiming that I said X, Y, and Z. Why didn't you just come to me and ask me?
Right.
They're all guilty of this. And
They
Tamara
all-
in that
yeah.
moment definitely was like, you could see in her eyes. She had a little like, oh,
Yeah.
well, then that was misinformation.
I mean, I will say this entire reunion is everyone getting mad at each other for doing the same thing. It's like
Yes.
it's very Jersey. With like Melissa and Teresa, they get mad at each other for kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. Like you should have just like, because I know at some point Shannon looks at Heather and is like, you should have just come to me and talked to me about it. But look what Shannon's doing.
Look at what
The
Shannon's
Vault.
doing.
She gets drunk. She calls everyone. It's just like everyone is mad kind of about similar things.
Exactly. Well, okay, so speaking of Shannon, the drunk and the calling people.
Yes. The Vault.
The Vault. Like, here's my thing. This was a little bit to me of an intervention of the Shannon drinking, which
Yeah.
obviously comes to a head off camera later.
I drink a little.
I drink a little.
I drink a little. I mean, even Tamara's like, I got way too drunk too often. I drink a little.
I mean, come on, Shannon.
God.
But like, Shannon honestly believes that she's only had a couple of conversations with Heather only about
know.
the issues in her relationship with John. And I love that, like, Emily pipes up, and maybe Gina does too, but Emily definitely does, being like, Shannon, you have called me wasted, clearly blackout, talking about this, and you don't remember.
Right.
Like, that's an issue. This is not, you know, Shannon is basing her very strong opinions on what she remembers to be true, which I understand. But when you're drinking a lot and you're having these blackout moments and you're getting into fights with your boyfriend and you're opening up to your friend and then you don't remember it, she then has spent the whole season blaming Heather for running around and saying things when in reality, she talked to Emily. She didn't talk to Gina because Shannon hates Gina, but she talked to Tamara. She talked to Heather.
2020, she talked to her.
2020.
She said one thing.
One thing. District attorney. But like, Shannon absolutely did. And
Of course
Heather
she
has
did.
been thrown under the bus systematically. And not for nothing, Tamra, who I love when she's like, I never brought up your relationship once. Roll the tape. Exactly. She totally
Of course she
spearheaded
did.
this. She totally was like a conductor on that train. And because Shannon and Tamara are in a good place, Shannon didn't want to see that.
Right.
and didn't want to hear that. And no one really stood up and made the connection. And whenever Heather said anything, well, they didn't believe Heather.
Heather was a scapegoat this entire season.
Yes, she
And
absolutely was.
Listen, Shannon, and I think we've said this in episodes past that we recapped. This isn't just this season with John Jansen. This goes back with David. I was like, what's the husband's name? David. She used to drunk dial Tamara and Vicky all
my God.
the fucking time.
Yep.
And it was when she and David would have a fight and it got really nasty and all this stuff. This is something that she has done time and time and time and time and time again. And I think, at the end of the day, in the bottom of her heart, I think Shannon knows that she does this, but what an embarrassing thing to try to admit and come to terms with, especially when you're telling really deep, dark secrets about your relationship. But I think that obviously Heather was not the only person that she talked to, but I think it is, and I might have mentioned this earlier, like on other episodes, I think she coherently remembers what she told Heather. She doesn't remember what she told some of the other women.
100%.
And
She was
so
blackout.
It's easy to point the finger at Heather. And guys, let's again roll the tapes back to Shannon's first season. Shannon and Heather have never, ever, 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 ever had a good relationship.
No,
They've never
they haven't.
really liked each other in a real way.
There's always been something between them.
If you're Shannon and you love Tamara, and I do think that Gina and Emily are like, she doesn't care about them either. She could take them or leave them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she could definitely leave Gina. I think Emily, she could take her or leave her.
Agreed.
But she's not going to do anything to Tamara.
No.
Who's going to be easier to blame and point the finger at? Heather. It's just an easy target. But I do actually believe everything Heather said.
Same.
Now, what I will say that's annoying, and Heather even admits it, she'd be like, I said that you said some things, but they were in the vault.
Right.
They were in the vault. I wasn't going to say anything. Well, then don't fucking say anything, Heather.
Well, but okay, so hold on. I have a little bit of a different opinion there because what Heather says to Shannon is like, I never said that I wouldn't talk about your relationship at all. I just said that the individual things that you told me, these specific are in the vault and they stayed in the vault. I never said them on camera. I never said them off camera.
Which is true.
And I believe that. And to me, it is very naive of Shannon to think that her relationship was not going to be talked about in any way, shape, or form amongst the women. Their job is to talk about their lives and each other's lives. And every single person on the cast talked about Shannon and John's relationship in some capacity or another. They all did. And for Shannon to get pissed about that, well, then Shannon Storms Bedore, this is not for you.
I can only be Shannon Storms Bedore.
That was
How much did she practice that? Who told her to say that?
Well, I mean, she practiced that in the mirror. 1,000%.
She did.
Shannon, I am Shannon Storms Bedore. Like, what?
She was like, you're Bedoring it up.
Yeah.
Something's not right.
Well, and she's delusional. She's like, I was the
is
first to
delusional.
show my marriage breaking down. I've showed so
I
much.
took my shirt off.
And
I
Emily's
get
like,
it.
Tamara weighed me in the gym. Tamara's like, I went through a divorce, a fucked up divorce on camera.
did, yeah.
They've all done that. That's the fucking job. That is
Yeah.
what you are paid to do. Shannon has absolutely, over the years, shown some really raw, difficult parts of her life. No question. I won't take that away from her. But that doesn't mean that she's the only one who's done it. And that means that she's a good cast member who has deserved to be on this franchise for as long as she has.
Well, it doesn't mean that you get to scapegoat. You get to just clear sail now
Right.
into the future and talk about nothing.
But I used to do all this, so now I should be scot-free.
I've earned
No,
my spot to do nothing.
to do nothing. And again, it's so sad. And I feel like we talked about this on the finale, when we were recapping the finale, that, in the beginning, we thought Shannon was,
I know.
oh my God, turning over a new leaf.
know,
When in
she's
reality, she was just
grown and-
hiding her own shit.
I know.
Shannon, the one hallmark of Shannon throughout this entire reunion was her lack of accountability. Her lack of accountability with Heather, her lack of accountability with Gina.
Oh, God.
I mean, can we talk about that?
Yes.
Like, okay. So Shannon was pissed that Gina was talking about her relationship,
Which was the cast, but okay.
which was the entire cast,
Including Shannon.
including Shannon, as much as she tried not to, and she was spinning it in a way.
I know. Can you imagine how much Archie knows? If Archie could ever
Archie-
do a tell-all.
There should be an Archie Tells All.
Because he knows it all.
Oh my God.
That poor fucking
What
dog.
that poor dog has seen.
And heard. Oof, God.
Woof. Well, by the way, it sounds like literally woof. Well, it sounds like what half of Newport has heard and seen because they go out and get drunk and fight.
Yeah.
But, you know, Gina and Shannon, they just don't like each other. And Gina didn't do anything fucking wrong.
I would say that Shannon doesn't like Gina. And at this point, Gina can't put forth any effort.
Yes.
I think Gina doesn't have a problem with Shannon, but because of everything that's happened, I'm just not going to try anymore. And I get that you don't like me, and that's fine. Not everyone needs to like everyone, but I don't need to try I don't need to try anymore.
No.
Because Shannon is that typical person. I mean, we've seen it, if you roll the tapes, where she did one thing. She gave Gina a phone number.
Yep.
So I don't even think Shannon called the person for Gina. It's just
No, I think she just connected them.
Here's the phone number, so thank you. And that was it. And we had to hear about it time and time again. And I don't know who it was that said this, but it's like every time Shannon retold the story, it got a little bit more like drastic, like,
Yes.
I saved her from she was going to prison that morning.
Right.
And if I didn't give her that number,
She would've been in
at
jail.
11:59 p.m., she would have been in jail.
Yep.
And then now the retelling of this story that we saw, she would have gone to jail in CPS. CPS would have been involved.
And she tries to walk it back, right? But the way she tries to walk it back is, I wasn't implying that CPS was going to take your children, but that if there wasn't another adult there and they were there, that
Okay.
look, I don't fucking blame Gina. The kids, the things that are off limits, and this is the tried and true housewives like rule that gets everyone who crosses it or breaks it into trouble, is involving kids.
Correct.
Especially when the kids are like children, not adult or like older in their teens or 20s, like Brianna or like Gia, when they start to get involved on their own.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a no-fly zone.
Yeah.
And it was really shitty. Mm-hmm. And Shannon just couldn't fucking say, I'm sorry.
No. She had to say, I'm sorry, but.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. But, Gina, you need to know. I didn't mean that CPS was going to take your kids. I just meant that if there wasn't an adult there. See, that's not really how CPS works, Shannon. I mean, maybe in Orange County, I don't know.
It's not fucking how
that's
CPS
not how it works
works.
here. But just even recall, you know, and I hate to bring her up because she talk about a jump scare, but Bronwyn. Remember when that reunion, when it was revealed that like Bronwyn came up to, and I don't even remember which one of Shannon's daughters it was, but obviously they were under 18.
Oh my God,
I remember
right.
it was like Coke. She like offered Coke or something, and how mad Shannon was, and honestly, rightly so,
Rightfully
Shannon.
so.
But you were so up in arms about like, how could Bronwyn do that? Like, how dare you?
It's my children.
And where's that same energy here?
Cut to Gina. My children.
My children. What are their names?
Oh, so bad. Oh,
Sienna.
my God.
I saw one of my favorite comments I read was because Sienna's the only one that she could
Name.
and someone online was like, Sienna, Miller. I mean, kudos. Gina. And here's something that I love about Gina is like, I feel like that was just impassioned in the moment. Like, I don't
Yes.
think anyone was like, hey, ask her if she knows what your kids' names
no.
are. Like,
That
just
was all
came to her
her.
in the moment because I think she felt so confident that Shannon wouldn't know. And of course, Shannon. I'm honestly surprised she got 1 out of 3. I'm actually surprised.
I don't know why I thought she'd maybe get more than one, but no, I'm not surprised because she's so self-involved.
And it's just like, and then now she's like, well, you put me on the spot. And then I love when they go to Andy and Andy's like, oh, doesn't it look so good?
Yeah, 100%. And I do not blame Gina for being absolutely
no.
livid and pissed. I think
No,
that it
fuck
is.
no.
Shannon was totally out of line. And I got to be honest, like when Gina's saying that she doesn't know if she can do this anymore because of how upset she is about this circumstance. Now, I think that will dissipate. I think that Gina will be back, but like I kind of don't blame her. Like that
You get where she's coming from.
I get where she's coming from. I understand the motivation, and you know, I think if there was ever an opportunity for her feelings to be swayed in this reunion, Shannon did not do anything to satisfy that.
Right. I mean, but I think Gina has to sleep at night knowing that she's right and Shannon's wrong.
Yeah.
But I mean, I get where she's coming from. She has very young kids. She also was in a domestic dispute with her ex-husband.
Right.
Like Gina's come a very, very long way, but her kids
Yes.
are going to be at the age pretty soon here where even though there's no substance to what Shannon's saying, you're living in a land where you can write in Gina's name and something about CPS will come up.
Exactly.
Even though nothing has happened, that is now the rhetoric that will be out there. And I get why Gina's like, I don't think I can believe this. And not to jump too far, but like when Shannon's like, well, Taylor told me that you said that you were going to film with me and it didn't matter because I was going to get fired. And Gina's like, no. I said that I don't know that I would be able to come back and film with you. I said nothing about you being fired. And
I believe her.
By the way, I stand with Gina.
I stand with Gina too, and I believe her.
Yeah.
I absolutely believe. I do not believe that Shannon. Excuse me. I do not believe that Gina said to Taylor that she thinks Shannon's going to be fired. Now, is there a world where she said, I hope that she doesn't come back?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Which, by the way, I'm sure they've all said that about, and Heather admits it. Like, we all talk about that kind of stuff about each other.
Right.
And Andy's like, this isn't really that unheard of.
That's
like,
not
everybody
uncommon.
fucking does this.
Like, what would the show look like if Gina wasn't there? Or what would it look like if so-and-so came back? Or, of course they play those games. That's not uncommon.
That's harmless, y'all. This
but
is
also,
just...
It's harmless.
Yeah.
Exactly. But to me also, even in that moment when Heather admits to saying, to kind of playing that role play game conversation, she turns right to Gina and says, I'm sorry I did that. I'm sorry. It wasn't meant in any malicious
and
way.
Gina's like, got it.
But that's all it fucking takes.
Accountability.
These women are
and
not
apology.
that difficult. It's exactly accountability and an apology, and that's it. And Shannon just is 0 for 2 on any of those.
She's horrific
across the board.
And listen, because I know there are people out there that don't like Gina, and that's fine. I'm not here to change minds and hearts. I have my own mind, my own heart. But Gina does not read to me as someone who's like, Andy, if you don't get rid of X, Y, and Z, I'm not coming back. I think that Gina's the kind of person that's like, is this good for me mentally? We know she doesn't drink anymore. She's California sober. She's starting her own business in real estate with Travis is the name, right?
Yeah.
Travis, all this stuff.
Got 2 homes in escrow right now. Kudos.
Good job, Gina. Like, she's someone that's like, what's the cost and reward? Like, is my mental health gonna be like detrimental? Like, what's gonna happen? Like, I think Gina is more of like, is this good for me? Not meaning like in a threatening way, like, well, I might not come back.
No.
But literally looking at her circumstance and being like, does this make sense for me to come back? And I know people out there don't like her for whatever fucking reason, but I just don't read her as someone who's like, gonna do like an ultimatum.
She's not egocentric.
Because also, guys, I think, she's not. And I think she's self-aware and she's not gonna put herself up against Shannon and Tamara and all this stuff and be like, choose me. She's not gonna do that because she's probably not gonna like the outcome. You know what I mean? Like, she is self-aware. And, now knowing what we know now with Shannon and the DWI, maybe Shannon doesn't come back.
Yeah.
But we have to wait and see about that because we don't know.
Exactly. I agree. I think, look, I don't really understand all of the anti-Gina sentiments out there amongst the OC fandom because I love Gina. I think that she does not have an ego. I think she's really well-rounded.
She's a real one to me.
She's a real one. She is a real one. And I agree. I do not think that she would ever make one of those ultimatums because she does not have a super inflated sense of self. And I do think that, as you said too, it's really more of a personal choice. Like, is this right for me, for where I am in my life, for my family, for my mental health?
Yeah.
And that's the weight that she'll put against a decision.
Right.
Now, I believe and I hope that she does come back because I fucking love Gina. And I think that she is very down to earth and very well rounded. And I understand that she's not like the flashy, rich, $55 million home type that Heather is, but she offers something to the show that I think it really needs, which is that kind of, I don't want to say an anchor, but just a grounding force.
Yeah. To me, it's relatability. And that's why I've always fucking liked her. And guys, guess what? We have Heather on the show and they all hate Heather. So, I mean, they all hate her for her 55. Look, I can't tell the women about this. I'm damned if I do. I'm damned if I don't. No matter what Heather does, the women hate her. And I'm saying women in general, but I'm really looking at like Tamara and Shannon and really kind of Emily too. But like, there's a judgment that's placed on Heather because she has so much wealth.
Agreed.
And because she has so much wealth, she looks down on others. But is that really what's going on? So I love Gina. I feel like it's a good mix of women. I mean, even Tamara. Tamara's wealthy, but Tamara's not wealthy like Heather.
No one is. Heather is the most wealthy on the show, except for, no, I would say maybe Taylor, but I don't think Taylor is crazy wealthy like that anymore. I think she used to be. But she understands the money piece, which is why Taylor's the one who pointed out throughout the season that she thinks it's the money, and that's why Heather
With
gets all
Heather.
this flack because
Yeah.
Taylor, when she lived in Beverly Hills and was on that show, like she was enmeshed in wealth. Russell was very, very wealthy.
Well, it's just
so
it's different in Beverly
it's
Hills.
just different. But yeah,
That's probably maybe why Taylor maybe subconsciously felt very secure in this cast, just because she felt like she blended in more. Not that she didn't blend with Beverly Hills, but it's different. It's a different vibe.
It totally is. And I think that she did. I think that she's blended much better with this cast than she ever did on Beverly Hills. And certainly better than fucking Ultimate Girls Trip, where she was just seeing red with Brandy and just couldn't get herself out of it. So, okay, what's next?
Now we have Shannon and John.
I mean,
are you still together? God, no, Andy. Andy, we're not. Okay.
Well, but are you hooking up from time to time?
Yeah, yes, we are.
You know,
Honestly,
with benefits.
I give a kudos to Shannon because Shannon could have easily been like, no, of course not, Andy. But she's like, yeah, sometimes friends with benefits, yeah.
But do you give kudos, or if she had said no, would the rest of the women called her out? Because it is a small town,
Yes, but
and
it
they're all
doesn't-
seen out all the time.
This is a woman who's saying I didn't call you when I was black.
By the way,
doesn't
that's
fucking
touche,
matter.
touche,
They could have sat around and been like,
touche.
Shannon, we know that you went out with him. No, that was last year, 2021. I mean, listen to some of these stories. So Tamara's like, well, I heard, he left you at a restaurant and then he left you in New York. No, Tamara didn't leave me in New York. Shannon, you called me. There's something about the phone and the calling. Shannon, you called me and you told me he was leaving you in New York. No, I meant that he was going back to hotel. Okay. All right,
Yeah,
Shannon.
I believe Tamara.
Well,
I pretty much believe
take it with a grain of
anyone
salt,
who is
but yes.
saying, well, in this
in this
circumstance,
regard with Shannon, yes.
I believe anyone that is saying the opposite of what Shannon is claiming.
Correct.
That's who I believe, because I do not believe a word that comes out of Shannon's mouth.
Yes. Now,
But I think she's delusional enough that she believes what's coming out of
you
her
have
mouth.
to tell yourself a lie.
Yeah. The lies you tell yourself.
That's really the only, as long as you believe it, that's the only person that needs to believe it if you're living it, because you're like, let me believe this lie. Now, the only real honesty I felt like we got from Shannon was when we finally got the information that like, yeah, I didn't want to have these altercations with him because he would break up with me and then he would ghost me.
Right.
That's
That
the
was
only
vulnerable.
Real authentic moment we have, and
You're
she kind of
right.
gets teary-eyed, and it was so much to the point that all of the other women shut up. They
Yeah.
were quiet. They just sat there and they're like, well, we don't want that for you.
It's because they were seeing something different
Real.
out of Shannon,
And
something
real.
real. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like that was a real moment. I felt for her. She's like, I was embarrassed.
Yeah.
I believe that.
And I get that. What a shitty person. I can't
John Jansen's
stand
a piece
this
of
man.
shit. Fuck him.
Yeah, he's disgusting.
But the only thing I would have wished more from Shannon in that moment is saying, I was embarrassed and, that is why, and she's getting teared up. And if she had just taken it one half step further and said, and that's why I was so resistant, or that's why I was so defensive.
Right.
But again, then that seeps into accountability territory. And I think for Shannon, accountability or an I'm sorry admits fault. And that is one of the qualities in just people that drive me crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know
agree.
you feel the same.
I agree. Accountability goes a long way, and Shannon has nothing in there.
None.
Nothing. And it's something that is out of her control when it comes to John, because John is such a piece of shit.
Yes.
So I agree with you. If she had ridden that a little bit longer, being like, I was embarrassed, you can't argue with that. I felt ashamed. He ghosted me. I didn't want that out there. Everybody would understand that. Same way that Jen doesn't want Limp Dink out there. The little Limp Dink and popping around. Like, she doesn't
Limp
want that
Dink Ryan.
She doesn't want that out there either. But she can't quite get there.
No.
Ever.
And I gotta be honest too with Shannon and the vulnerability, because that was in part 2.
Yeah.
I can't help but at least think about the moment at the end of part 1, or maybe it's the very beginning of part 2, when they're breaking for lunch and they're walking off
part 2.
stage, and Shannon's speaking to a producer and saying, I know I'm fucking up.
Yeah.
Because it's coming off the heels of the CPSG and stuff. And she's like, I know I'm doing badly. I know I'm fucking up.
She couldn't remember the kids' names. Like, she looks bad.
And she knows that she looks bad.
Yeah.
So is there I appreciate the vulnerability in that moment when she comes back and is emotional about being embarrassed and him breaking up with her and fuck him, right? But I can't help but have a little voice in my head think to myself, okay, they broke for, let's say, 30 to an hour for lunch, between lunch and getting ready and getting back and in there. She knew that she was fucking up. She knew that she wasn't doing a great job, that she wasn't looking good. And was there a thought process or a conversation with a producer that we didn't see, we didn't see on camera, where she realized or was told or felt like, okay, I have to give something. There's something I need to do something to rehab my image in this moment, and that's being vulnerable and opening up just a skosh.
Yeah.
I have to wonder. I'm not saying the two are not true. I'm not saying that her feelings and the emotion is not true. I believe her.
Yeah.
I think that John Jansen absolutely did that shit, and I think he's a fucking asshole. And I think that she was probably internally spiraling all season.
Yep.
And just not
Just
knowing
scared that he's always going to leave.
Exactly. And all of the walk-offs to production, and this is going to end my relationship, and blah blah blah.
Even though he loves the limelight.
And the fact that I even like that she admitted that, like, I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
And that this far into a relationship, not knowing what the motivation is, like, yeah, that's unsettling.
Yeah.
And they were together for 3 years?
Yeah.
So, I don't know what the conclusion I'm drawing is, but I just am seeing kind of different little pieces and wondering how they fit together, I suppose.
Well, one thing I did really appreciate about Shannon, every now and again I get a little glimpse of the Shannon that I really like, which is always very deranged. But when Andy is asking the question, he's always like, Jonathan 512 asks, you say that John doesn't like the limelight. Why enter a relationship with an already established reality?
My favorite
TV personality?
fucking question.
And Shannon goes, valid. Andy, what was the name? Jonathan, valid question.
I wish I knew.
I don't know. And I'm like, you know what? Kudos. She always had a little humor there, but I do think that what she said was true about him ghosting her. I mean, if we know anything, he leaves her. I remember seasons past, she opens up about they were on a golf course or something, and he left her at the golf course. Like,
I don't even remember that.
It always happens when they're drinking. They're both bad drunks.
They're bad drunks.
Right?
They are
she
bad
is,
drunks.
And so is he. And so I think that him ghosting her and always like threatening to break up and breaking up with her is a real thing.
And that fucks with you.
Of course it does.
Shannon just wants to be loved. She wants a relationship. Her marriage fell apart in a really kind of, egregious way.
Yeah.
And she absolutely was very open and put it all out there on the show. And I will give her that credit.
Yeah.
She thought she found her person. And this guy presented in the beginning as being this kind of perfect partner for her, and it just went downhill. I fucking feel for her.
Yeah.
I do. But one does not, negate the behaviors that she shows and engages in as a result of the feelings that she gets from the deterioration and the volatility of that relationship.
Yeah.
They should not be together. Like, full stop.
Oh,
they
absolutely.
It's a powder keg, them drinking, and they both drink.
And guys, Shannon needs to take responsibility for her own actions, and she needs to take responsibility for getting in a car with Archie and
absolutely
driving into a house. That was Shannon's decision, but it was coming from John Jansen's house. So I think that this relationship is
toxic.
Fucked. And you can tell in this moment, and they like you said, they go to the slate. It was 10 days before this happened.
Yep.
And she got the DWI. You could tell that, like, they are in communication. Even Tamara's like, are you together? Are you together? Maybe they're not together, but they're absolutely hanging out.
Yep.
Because while she does give a little bit, like, to your point, she gives a little insight, like, he ghosts me and he breaks up with me and I'm embarrassed. It's hard. At the same time, a lot of the stuff she's doing is defending and deflecting.
Yep.
For
100%.
him. Like, even they bring up Emily and both, Heather bring up, like, well, you told us that he called you fat. And that was one of the things that Heather said. That was something you told me that I never fucking said.
Which is true. Emily said it in an interview.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah. And Emily's like, and a pig. And Heather was like, I didn't say that. But, like, obviously, these things are true. And what I will say, because I know Shannon, this is when Shannon backtracks, like, John has done a lot of things. He's done a lot of things. He's never done that. Guys,
he tells me how beautiful I am every morning.
I don't know. I can't say because I'm not Shannon. I'm not, in that relationship. Thank God. I'm not a fly on the wall in that house. Thank God.
Thank God.
So I don't know beyond a shadow of a doubt if he said that. But what I will say and Shannon does say this in the episode, Shannon has had body issues for a long time
Absolutely.
before John Jansen came into the photo, into the picture, into the photograph. So do I think he could have said it? Absolutely. He seems like a nasty, disgusting person.
Yeah, he does.
Do I think a lot of Shannon's body issues and like self-hatred come from John or they come from herself? I think they come from herself.
I agree.
I think it's a demon that she's battled ever since they show that. I cringe every time.
The gym.
They show that fucking photo when she takes, not the photo, they show that clip where she takes her shirt off and the guy goes, wow.
Like that's fucking hard.
Isn't
That's
this your
horrifying.
profession? Wow. I know. I'm disgusting. Like that is like the most cringe-worthy part because like you know that she's so ashamed in that moment and that man doesn't do anything to help her feel like, no, this is okay. You'll be okay. So I think that she carries a lot of body issues from herself.
Yes.
So, you know.
And as evidenced by the bathing suit when they're in Mexico and Andy brings that up. And that's so relatable. It is.
It is relatable.
100%. But I do think that a lot of that is her own, insecurity, which so many people have, and women have.
Right.
And at the same time, do I believe that independently Heather and Emily both heard this from Shannon and she said that to them? Yes, I do.
Absolutely, 100%.
I absolutely do.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Emily.
Oh, your favorite.
My favorite.
I love Emily too.
I do. I love Emily. I think that
she's Lauren's favorite too, I think.
Yeah, she is. Lauren loves Emily. So
Besides
do I.
Tamara.
I love when Emily brings out the lawyer. Because she's good at asking the right question to spark the conversation, calling someone out. But what I will say with Emily, looking at kind of the different friendships she has in the group, with Heather, I think that there is something with Heather that is triggering for Emily from her past.
Yeah.
There's whether it's Heather's, a wealth and I don't want to say status, but her kind of lifestyle and how easy she seems to have it, quote unquote, juxtaposed against how hard Emily had it growing up. If it's feeling like she always felt like the loser growing up, and Heather taps into that insecurity.
Yeah.
But it feels to me like all season there have just been kind of misfires and miscommunications and misunderstandings between the two.
Yeah.
And I think that Heather is a lot more sensitive than people give her credit for. I think that people think that Heather is very stoic and just kind of has it all together. But
well, she does schedule her breakdowns.
She does. She is anal retentive and schedules her breakdowns. This is true. But I don't know. I mean, what's your take on the Emily and Heather of it all? Because
I don't think there's anything deep. I wish that they could just get the bullshit out of the way and talk, and I think they would get along. Very similar to the fact that Heather and Tamara get along now.
Yes,
right?
I agree.
How many seasons did we have to see them kind of go back to back
and
just
forth, and
nothing was ever really there that was that they could not overcome. I feel that way with Heather and
Emily
and
too.
Emily. I just feel like it's kind of tick for tack. They're obsessing about certain little things, and especially because I know it happened later in the season, the loser thing.
Yeah, and the
snuffleupagus, but in the finale, she pulls Heather aside and she's like, when I heard the word loser, it really triggered me into childhood because I felt like a fucking loser all the time. And so I think that there is a lot of truth there, that maybe there is something about Heather that is just triggering, and I don't know, but I think that let's say if everyone comes back, I would hope that we could move forward in a real way with Heather and Emily and see a friendship, because I just don't think that there's anything there that's
irreparable.
Right.
I agree.
It's just as silly, and not saying that you have to always be friends with your friends' friends. But Gina's her best gal on the show.
Yep.
They love each other.
And Gina and Heather do love each other.
And Heather have a good foundation. So
Yeah.
it's just I would hope that. Well, I mean, again, at the end of the reunion, they were like, "I love you.
I love
I
you.
love you too." It was like an exercise.
I know. It was like a group therapy exercise.
I love you, Emily. I love you too.
I love you.
I don't know, but
I hope that they can kind of move forward.
It's semantics to me at this point.
Yeah.
It's not anything real, and I do think because Emily this whole season has gotten a little bit closer to Tamara, which by the way I like.
Me too. I love that.
Even though Shannon doesn't like it.
Oh my God.
I laughed
Tamara
out
dropping
loud.
that.
I laughed out loud when Andy's like, so I mean, you and Emily, is that causing any friction between you and Shannon? And Tamara's like, oh, she doesn't love it. She doesn't love it.
She doesn't love it.
And I'm like, oh my God, so fucking funny.
And there was the one time when Shannon kind of turns to Tamara and like tells her like, nah,
Oh, I don't mind
stop
it.
putting words in my mouth.
Yeah.
Well, because it brings up the Tres Amigas live show and that Shannon told Tamara that she did not want Emily and Gina there. And, which I 100% believe. And I do not think it was because she was nervous. Here's the thing.
No fucking way.
Lauren and I were talking about this when we were watching the reunion. Like, if the entire cast came, because she was saying it either has to be, should I either invite the whole cast or no one?
Which Tamara's like, I did.
Right.
I wanted to.
And it would have gotten them more press for Tres Amigas Live.
Yeah.
They would have done a full cast photo.
Sure.
And I don't think Vicky gave a shit. I think it was just Shannon.
No. I mean, Vicky's a bitch. Vicky's probably like, I don't want them to come. But Vicky in a real way isn't gonna, she's not
doesn't
gonna
give a
care.
shit.
She's not gonna care.
No. But with Emily, I wonder that when Emily and Gina came onto the show, you still had Vicky, you still had Tamara, you had Heather, right? Yeah, and you had Shannon all on the show.
Was Heather there when Gina and Emily came on? I don't know if she was.
Ooh,
I think it was.
don't quote
I think Vicky, I know, was there because Vicky talked about sins and how don't get divorced from your husband.
Yes. So maybe Heather
I don't
wasn't.
think Heather was there.
Okay, fair enough.
But we did have Tamara and we did have Vicky.
Right. So they come into the show and they're very much the underclassmen.
Yes.
You have the Tres Amigas who are this like established powerhouse, the anchor of OC.
Yeah.
And Vicky doesn't really give Emily or Gina the time of day.
Oh, she's such a bitch.
Tamara plays into everything Vicky does. And Shannon really didn't either. So I think since the beginning, Emily, who does have this, deep-seated insecurity about feeling left out or not feeling accepted.
Not feeling like you belong.
Right.
Yeah.
That started early on this show.
Yeah.
And then they leave, Vicky leaves, Tamara leaves, Heather's gone, Heather comes back. Well, Heather is that old guard, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's not an OG, but she's from, she's
She
an
might as
icon
well
on the
be.
show. She's an OG from these last kind of generations of
Yeah.
this, right? And I think Emily maybe projects this same insecurity onto Heather that she had with Tamara. And she had it with Tamara too. Tamara calling her Shrek. The shit that Tamara said in the press about all of them on, when she was off the show, to which Andy points out at one point, and she's like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Be quiet.
I love their
And he's
relationship,
like,
just as an
"Oh."
aside. I was seeing shit on social media before I watched the second part of the reunion about this like scuffle, and I was expecting it to be like, oh shit, they're gonna get into it, Andy and Tamara.
Oh, God. It
Not
was nothing.
even in the slightest. In fact, it was endearing.
Yeah.
Guys,
Just shut the fuck up with that.
the OG housewives, the ones who have been around since the early iterations of any of them, they have a different relationship with Andy.
Yeah.
Andy was still an executive then. He would talk to them in a different way. It's a very different dynamic. And I kind of loved that because they're
It is.
peers.
It
And
is.
she gave it to him and he was like, excuse me? Oh, okay.
He doesn't care.
He doesn't give a
It's
shit.
the same, like, before I watched the Jersey reunion, I heard they're like, wow, Andy really yells at Teresa. He really yells at her to the point that he had to apologize after the fact. And then I watched a reunion.
Like,
And
guys.
yeah, he yells at her, but it's no different than anything I've ever seen him do in any other Jersey
fucking
reunion.
Right.
Like,
guys, Teresa pushed him down in his
I
chair
know.
like a decade ago. Like they've known each
linebacker.
other for fucking ever.
Yeah.
People like to sensationalize, but I do. I think that Emily kind of had a predisposition to be very easily triggered by Heather.
Yeah.
And I do hope that it feels like there was some kind of kumbaya resolution at the end.
yeah. Let's ride that wave.
Ride the fucking wave, that
ride
beach
it.
wave.
Let's ride it.
And with with Emily and Tamara, I loved their friendship.
I do too.
Because they do have these similar kind of fucked up backgrounds, and there is more that kind of can connect them than separate them. And I thought they had a really good. I liked seeing them get closer this season.
I did too. And the thing about the both of them is I think they both can tell each other to like, that was fucked up. Why the
Yes.
fuck did you do that? And it doesn't have to mean like, oh, the friendship's over. Like they can hold each other accountable.
Yes.
Whereas like other people, if like they say that to Tamara, you're dead to her. You're done.
Yep.
But like they just have this camaraderie where they can be like, wow, that was a fucked up thing that Emily did, or that was a fucked up thing Tamara did. And they'd be like, I know, I'm sorry. You know, and obviously, you know, Gina and Tamara are friends. They're not close. They're okay. But like, she can even be like, Tamara, what you did to Gina was fucked up, or Gina, what you did to Tamara was fucked up. And there's just like a level of respect there that they can talk to each other like that and not have it be a friendship ending like, how fucking dare you? And I appreciate that kind of stuff.
So do I. And that's one thing that we really saw that foundation be built this season.
Yeah.
At that first yoga event that I think Jen held, and they sat down and had that convo, like, you know, let's kind of clean slate. And then I loved, you know, I hated that Emily didn't go to Montana, but when they had that Western bar scene, I thought that was fantastic. Like, I liked seeing them build
that was one of my favorite scenes
of the season.
With Tamara and Emily at that bar.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I want to go there.
So do I.
That was so
I thought
endearing.
It was great. It was endearing.
And they just get wasted on like mimosas or whatever the fuck
and they
they're,
like
or
gossip
wine.
And shoot the champagne or wine at like a dive bar. I'm like,
oh yeah,
guys,
it wasn't.
really?
I think it was champagne. I don't think it was mimosas.
Like,
but
wait, what the fuck
I would
are you
have gotten a
getting there?
mimosa. Yeah.
Yeah. A mimosa is safer than a straight up shams at that type of bar. Let's just call it what it is. They must have brought in bottles of Veuve for Heather. Production segment. Let's stop the bar, please.
We don't want to lose before we begin. Get Heather champagne, the champs.
The Champs McGee.
Champs.
But yeah, you know, I do think that the Emily and Tamara thing is great, but it does juxtapose interestingly against Emily and Heather, because the type of things that, as you put it, like they can kind of tell each other like, yeah, that was fucked up, or, you know, and it's not friendship ending and it doesn't kind of snowball into something bigger is not how it is with Emily and Heather. And I think that I'm hopeful that after this reunion that they can maybe be in a place where not everything is so triggering and that they're not each so sensitive to everything the other one says.
Yeah, I agree. Should we try to get into and understand the loser of it all?
Yeah. Well, okay. Yes.
I still don't. Well, let me put it this way. I understand it as much as I did watching the show as I watched the reunion. Like,
I kind of agree.
I feel like we didn't really get any new information. And let me retract something earlier when I was talking about Heather. When Heather was talking about Shannon's relationship and being like, it's in the vault, that's fine. That did not annoy me. What annoyed me about Heather is the story of her going to Gina and Emily being like, so-and-so, because remember, the hairdryer.
The hairdryer
was blowing, we
messed
could
it
not
up.
hear. So-and-so was talking a lot of shit. And of course, I'm paraphrasing, so I don't remember what she said, but like,
yeah,
said
but
some
Emily thought that she said Shannon and it was really
about
Tamara.
you. But I'm not going to tell you what it is. That's the kind of shit that irks me. Do not tell me someone is saying shit about me and then not tell me what the shit is.
I agree.
Don't tell me anything then.
Right.
Let me live oblivious.
Right.
But if you're going to say, by the way, Eeps, Lauren talked mad shit about you the other day, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. Go fuck
I'd be
yourself.
like, fuck you. What the fuck was it?
It's just bullshit.
I agree. And I think that was shitty. I do appreciate that Heather very quickly here on the couch was like, you know what? That
was wrong.
The second I said it, I knew that I shouldn't have. And that was fucked up. And, you know, this fucking loser thing was so convoluted. You know, what I gathered, and I took a few notes because I was hoping going into this reunion that we would get real clarity. I still don't have real clarity.
It's like the black eye.
God, Jesus Christ.
I mean, I guess we got more clarity than that.
I think we got more clarity than the black eye, but not as much clarity as I think I would have hoped for. But I guess it started with Heather's podcast sometime well before the filming of the season, before Tamara was on board. And she was asked, you know,
Housewife you want to bring back.
Housewife you want to bring back.
Yeah.
And she said Alexis Bellino.
Which, how dare you?
Which, I mean, I love my girl Heather, but how dare you?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
She wanted that to sink.
Jesus jugs can stay
absolutely
floating off in the river. But no, but she's like, it was a safe bet because we know that she's not coming back, so whatever. And
that's a cop out though.
I think it's a cop out answer, 100%. And then so she says that, and that annoys Tamara. And then the season 16 press tour started before the season where Heather makes her return. She's doing the press tour for the premiere, and she's saying very boilerplate, everyone's great. This cast gels really well together, And Tamra reaches out to Heather being like, really? Everyone's great? And Heather's like, well, look, what the fuck do you expect me to say? I'm doing press. Look at what they gave me to work with.
Yeah.
Now, here's my thing. I absolutely believe if you look at the cast last season, it was not a great cast. Yes, you have Emily and Gina who are great, but Heather's not super close with them yet. She gets close with Gina last season and a little bit with Emily. But Noella and Dr. Jen were terrible. Noella was terrible. One and done was too much. She never should have been on the show.
Do you think Noella was one of the worst one and done, or Diana, Beverly Hills?
Oh, I know who you meant.
They're both equally horrifying.
I think Diana Jenkins is a little worse.
Okay.
I think Diana Jenkins is a little worse. They're both terrible, but just because the implications that her terribleness had on the rest of the story and the cast of Beverly Hills that season was awful. Like the way that she hijacked it. Yeah. The way that she went after
Sutton.
Thank you. The way that she went, I kept on wanting to say Shannon in my head, and I'm like,
I know.
Shannon.
Well, the two S's.
The two S's, and they're blonde. The way that she went after Sutton, she torpedoed the season. Whereas, Noella was just annoying and a bad housewife. But I think Diana squeaks it out for me. Which one do you think is worse?
I would agree. I would agree. Yeah.
But, so Heather was kind of talking about them. And then we cut to BravoCon, where Tamara's there. She hasn't been announced yet. And this is the infamous room where they're getting the hair and makeup and the blow dryer. And Heather says the thing that was talking mad shit, but it's in the vault. Okay. I agree. Really fucking annoying. Emily believes or thinks that it's Shannon. Gina, we know from a few episodes ago, she's like, it was hard for me to hear, but I think she was talking about Tamra, which she was. Yeah. And she's talking about Tamra in the podcast and having called them losers. And, then it just becomes this snowball effect that we see. A couple of thoughts from me. I don't think Heather says the word losers. I don't think it's part of her vernacular. I just don't think that's the rhetoric that she uses to talk about them. I do think that that's shit that Tamra says. But I don't really have clarity here. I think that there was just, I think in a large way, it was just kind of crossed wires, game of telephone, a story being told and retold without anyone actually coming to the table and like asking Heather what she said, asking Tamra what she said, because it took on a life of its own. Gina believing that Heather was the one that said it, but then saying, well, then Heather, if it was Tamra, why didn't you tell me that she said it?
Oh, that was
it just
goofy.
Took on a life of its own that it didn't need to. But at the end of the day, walking away from this reunion, I don't actually have clarity on exactly what happened, because I don't think there really is. I think that, or there's a conversation that no one is fessing up to. I don't know. I mean, what's your kind of takeaway?
My take is that Andy called it out, and Andy was like, Tamara, when you weren't on the show, you talked mad shit. I mean, of course, he did not say mad shit, but you talked about everyone here. Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about right now. So shut up. So I think there's a world where Tamara does talk shit about people. Okay,
right? I mean, she talks about shit about people in the press,
especially And guys, look at all this stuff we have that she said about Shannon before she got back on the show.
Oh my
Shannon's
God.
an alcoholic. Shannon's like the worst friend she's ever had. Shannon's
that
this. Shannon's that. Blah, blah, blah. Like you could pull up probably at least 10 blogs or whatever of things she talked shit about Shannon, who is supposed to be one of her tres amigas. Like we're not even talking about like Heather or Gina or Emily, whatever.
No,
this is Shannon, and she talked mad shit about Shannon. So I think that Tamara is someone that has a quick tongue. She does talk a lot of shit. I think that Heather's a little bit more PC. She's a little bit more put together. So I tend to kind of believe Heather that when she's saying, look what I have to work with, you know, like you said, she's getting to know some of these people. I mean, the only person she knows is Shannon.
Right. And she and Shannon have never had a solid relationship.
Yeah, and she could not stand Noella. Nobody did.
No one could.
And Jen, I honestly I can't even tell you what the storyline was with Jen.
I don't remember.
I can't remember at all. But I think that I don't believe that Heather is sitting here being like, oh my God, look at these losers.
No.
Why? Because I also don't think that Heather goes around talking about people like that. I think Heather goes around talking about herself. So I just like, I don't think she's worried about that. Now, if she's asked, like she is impressed, like, tell me about the season. Oh, well, we get into the drama. Like she's going to boil plate it. What's it called?
Boilerplate.
Thank you. Yeah. As y'all always say. She's going to boil it up.
Right.
Like,
what is she going to say? Oh, the cast sucks.
like she's going to, also, guys, she is an actress. She does know what it's like to go on these press tours.
Yes.
She knows how to have candid responses to things. So I think it makes more sense that she probably said something more along the lines of like, yeah, look at these guys. I don't know. I did the best I could. And Tamara, because Tamara is someone who talks mad shit, took it and ran with it and said, no. This is what she meant by that. She called them losers. But I didn't call them losers. Yeah, but that's what you meant, Heather, because you were like, look at these guys. I can't believe I wake up and have to go work with them. Look at them. You're calling them losers. Well, no, maybe that's your interpretation because you think
that's
losers.
How you think about
and
things.
You talked mad shit before you got back on the show.
Absolutely.
So I think it's more of Tamara just creating this narrative out there. And listen, Heather had an uphill battle, but I will tell you, the season finale, as Tamara says, she's rallying the troops. She's rallying them up. Well, if you did nothing wrong, they wouldn't feel the need to believe anything she said. But let me tell you, the minute Andy even asked Gina, why didn't you believe Heather right away when she told you she didn't do it and it was Tamara? And
when you were the one who
Gina
said,
goes,
watch out for Tamara.
I should have.
I love Gina for that.
You know
moment.
what I mean? Like,
yes.
There's a reason that people came so quickly to Heather's side because they believe it could be true.
Yeah,
because
I agree.
It was true. And that's just Tamara being a bitch.
Yeah, and I think there is this like other added little layer of this conversation at some point in the mix where I think before the season started, Heather and Tamara were having an offline conversation about this role playing of like, what would the cast look like if Gina wasn't there? Or what if Emily didn't come back? And again, we talked about that. Like, that's not an uncommon type of conversation to have. So I think that maybe that also spun how Tamara was perpetuating this story and retelling the story of what Heather said. And then to me, there's also a world where, yes, Heather didn't explicitly say Noella and Dr. Jen, even if she may have been thinking about that. Then when she's talking about like, she's saying to Tamara, look what they gave me to work with.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, guys. A cast of a show, an ensemble cast, is only as good as how all of the parts fit together.
Yeah.
You can still have some really great cast members, but if the ensemble as a whole doesn't kind of hit all of the archetypes, doesn't balance out in different personality traits, in different storylines, different things that are going on in their lives, then it's not satisfying. Yeah. So Heather coming back, she doesn't really have a relationship with Gina and Emily, coming back in. She films with them and she connects with them, but as a whole, last season's cast didn't gel. It didn't gel the way that it should have. It didn't gel the way this season did. Despite
this season
all of it.
was leaps and bounds better than last season.
Yeah.
So much better.
So I think that, there's a little bit of taking liberties on Tamara's side of like, what Heather meant by what she said in these different snippets of conversations and things that were either said in the press or on the podcast, whatever, over time. And I think that the narrative was kind of just a runaway train.
Yeah.
And it turned into this. So I don't really think that, I don't know. I wonder if there's a world where neither Tamara nor Heather are really lying. They just have very different interpretations of how the pieces fit together.
Well, and I think Tamara assigns tone, right? She's like,
yes.
Well, she said this, but let me tell you what she meant by this because I know her. And I don't care what anybody says. I think there had to have been a certain feeling that Tamara had coming back into this group. I think, and she even cops to it a little bit. That's why she drank a lot.
Yep.
She was a little bit freaked out. She was overwhelmed. She didn't kind of know how she was going to fit in with the group. She was at odds with Shannon at the beginning of the season.
She also, the gym shutting down. I didn't know her dog died. Her 14-year-old dog died a couple years before. Like, she was in a weird mental state
kind of in
coming
a whirlwind. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think, but you pair that on, I'm just saying, I don't think Tamara would ever want anyone being like, you came in trying to like take Heather down. Like, I don't think she ever wants that narrative. And I don't think she would, like, she did anything consciously being like, I'm going to take Heather down. But I do think that there's a subconscious aspect of like, here's Heather again. Heather's kind of the top dog, even though Heather didn't, like, to your point, Heather never really asked to be the top dog, but it's the energy, darling. It's the energy. It's the shams. It's the shams. The fancy pants. But, like, I think, there's just an aspect of Tamara that came in kind of guns a-blazing, and she just misfired. She misfired a handful of places, and instead of saying, fuck, I misfired, she has to kind of double down. And, and that's what made it a little bit of a rough season for her, for me.
I don't disagree. And, if we're talking about the Heather and Tamara kind of friendship overall, I think that they had been friends in the past for 100%. There was something that was brought up. It may have been last week's reunion, the first part, or at some point in the last few weeks where Heather, I guess on Heather's podcast, Heather's co-host said something about Tamara that pissed her off.
Yeah,
and Heather. Remember. So to me, it's like there's something coming in where Tamara initially thinks that she and Heather are cool. But before filming starts, there's something that's on Heather's podcast which rubs Tamara the wrong way. She's already kind of in this heightened state coming in, coming back into the show. She is effectively an OG.
Yeah,
she is at odds with Shannon, all of these elements, right? And the train never got firmly on the tracks, And I will say that when you film a show like this, it's around 12 weeks, and it becomes a runaway train.
It's go, go, go.
It's go, go, go. There's no time to really take a breath, take a step back, reassess, and get your head on straight. And I think Tamara she fell victim to that.
Yeah.
I think that it just kind of snowballed. And then, Heather, I guess, had said to Emily right before the season started shooting that Tamara's an asshole or can be an asshole. And Emily had said that to Tamara. So Tamara brings that up here. And I did love this moment where she's like,
you are an asshole.
You are you are an asshole.
Yes.
I love you, but sometimes you're an asshole.
Yeah. Guys, accountability. You see what I mean? We don't have Heather retracting me I didn't say, all right, I'm sorry. She goes, well, you are an asshole. Because Tamara, you are an asshole. You are so fun. You have so many fucking great qualities, but you are a bitch.
Right. But Tamara's response was my favorite, which was, but we were friends at that point. I wasn't even an asshole to you yet.
She knows. The thing about Tamara is Tamara knows that she's an asshole. She knows that she can be a bitch. So.
She does have self-awareness.
Well, that was my dog, guys. Sorry. See, here, we didn't mention this, but we're at my house today.
Yes.
So instead of the cats, you hear barking in the background.
We're hearing some random barking in the background. And there was also Heather pointing out to Tamara, because I think Tamara brings this up, that, the only reason Heather's friends with Tamara is because she's scared of her. And Heather's like, I got to clear this up. The only reason I'm friends with you is not because I'm scared of you. The reason I don't go against you is because I'm scared of you. Good, you shouldn't. God. You should be scared of me.
Why is that a compliment to be afraid of somebody, Tamara? Come on.
But you know what? At least in that moment, Tamara is showing, even if it's kind of in a little jokey way, self-awareness that when you go head-to-head with her, she fucking cuts deep. She's nasty. She
goes below the belt. She's nasty.
Yes. And Heather is acknowledging this. I liked this conversation between the two of them. I felt it come to a head.
Yeah.
I felt that they both kind of said their piece, and then they had their kumbaya acknowledging that they do really love each other, because I believe that. Yeah. Heather and Shannon, I don't the whole when you called me a few weeks ago.
Okay.
It
performative.
Really touched me. It was performative.
That's when Heather loses me. When you called me a few weeks ago, and of course says nothing about the phone call. That meant so much to me.
Well, the only thing I will say is that Heather went through this entire season and ended the season feeling very isolated, feeling very damned if you do, damned if you don't. Anything I say or do is going to be taken a certain way, and I didn't intend it that way. And I'll take accountability for the shit that I did, but I'm getting a lot more pile on than I deserve.
Correct, and I agree with that.
We agree with that. So when Heather gets a call from Shannon a couple weeks before the reunion, and they connect, obviously. We don't know the contents of the call, but it felt like it was a nice call. I think that probably put Heather a little at ease and did make her feel good, because she was fucking lambasted all goddamn season, and she could not pick a right lane,
Yeah.
So do I think there was a little bit of a performative element of the emotional? It made me smile. It made me happy. Okay, fine. But I think the sentiment at its core was probably authentic because Heather got the raw end of the deal this season.
She did. And you know, when I'm aligning myself with Heather, it's a big deal.
This is true.
I was Team Heather.
Yeah.
Really the entire season.
Which says a lot.
Yeah, that was a lot. It was a lot. But yes, we got Kumbaya, which, guys, that's why I say I'm an easy target. Do I believe this will go throughout the entire next season? Of course not. But I will appreciate it for now.
Mm-hmm.
I love that it sounds like Tamara, Heather, and Terry are going to go out on the town.
It sounds like they're all going out to have drinks together, which is, you know, a reunion ends well when you can all go out and drink and laugh and have a good time.
Have fun.
So, okay, we're kind of at the end of the reunion. Mm-hmm. What feelings overall? The reunion, how we left things, the season, looking towards next season. What are your thoughts?
Well,
feelings.
Feelings. I really, really, really enjoyed this season.
Yeah,
I really did. I loved Jen. I thought, even though I give Tamara a hard time, she was necessary. We needed Tamara. You have Tamara, Heather, and Shannon, and you have a little sprinkle of Vicky. I would like to have a little bit more Vicky, but this season as a whole, I really, really liked it. I kind of wish we could have maybe some different trips or trips that can incorporate everyone. I feel like we got gypped a little bit on some of the vacations, but season as a whole, I really liked it. The reunion, I'm happy that it was only 2 parts. I felt like we got everything out that we needed to get out, and I'm glad that it ended on a high. You know what I mean? As opposed to where do we go from here? Because listen, the last reunions we had was Jersey. Where do we go?
And what we know is more of the
Vanderpump. Where do we go? So this is like the reunion we've had of late. That there seems to be some camaraderie, cohesiveness. Now again, will it last? Who knows? It never really does on any franchise. But I like the uplifting hope. That's my feelings. Yeah. What about you?
I think that the season overall was really enjoyable. I loved having Tamara back. She was absolutely problematic, but I do think that she was necessary. And I think that it was the missing ingredient that we absolutely didn't have the season prior, which was a very flat season.
Yeah.
And to me, this was a rebuilding year. This was a really good foundation-laying rebuilding year for the franchise. Yeah. It was a reset. I think all of the pieces are there. I think this cast, as it stands, is a really solid cast. I think not Dr. Jen, Jesus Christ. I think Jen. Jen, I am so sorry. I think Jen was a great addition. I want her to stay.
She's very forgiving.
She is. She's very forgiving. So I will take the forgiveness. I agree. I think Vicky was having a sprinkle of her was wonderful. I'd love for her to come back as a B and only a B because she offers the perfect commentary in those moments. I thought that the reunion was solid. I'm glad that it wasn't 3 parts. I think it was a really strong 2. I think that, I agree that having them kind of come together in a moment where they can acknowledge that they have their differences, but that they all do genuinely care about one another. Yeah. And I believe them. I would love to be a fucking fly on that bar where they go after the reunion and have some tequila shots with them. And it leaves me with a lot of hope for next season.
Yeah.
I think that we're in a good place with this franchise where, it's only up from here. I
hope.
And I gotta be honest, I really hope they don't add a new cast member next season.
Unless we lose Shannon or someone.
Well, let's...
And I think, and I don't think.
What do you think?
I want to make it clear that I don't think we would have lost Shannon based on this season. I only mean like with everything that's happened.
Right.
Not even that she's on Aspec. I don't know if she's going to want to come at least this season. Maybe she takes, what do they say, time out?
A break.
Or a pause.
A pause.
A pause. Like, and she comes back maybe in 2 years. I don't know with the lack of accountability that we get from Shannon that this is going to be a time that Shannon wants to be on TV.
Yeah.
So I just don't know if we will get her back.
Do you want her back with everything that's happened? What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. But only if we can see like some real accountability.
Yeah.
If you can't take accountability right now after what's happened,
when are you going to?
I don't know when you're going to.
Yeah.
So, I guess it's like a twofold. Yes, but I need the accountability. Because if she comes on TV and it's like excuse, I have no problems. It was, I don't want to see that. Because I think that would be really problematic.
I agree.
But yes, assuming that she gets, and I put this in quotations, help, because I don't know what's going on. I don't know if she's in rehab. I don't know.
She's not. I think she was seen out recently with a cast on her arm.
Or she has a cast?
Yeah, I think she broke her
Because she did break her arm?
I think
Okay.
so.
I haven't seen any photos of her. Yeah, so I don't know if she's doing like a out of patient rehab. I don't know anything of what's going on, and
Neither
that's
do
fine.
I.
I don't need to know everything that's going on, but I would absolutely be open to her coming back more humbled and like with a new leaf, right?
Tall order, but I'd
we'll
be here
see.
for that. I'd be here for that. I think that accountability, a little contrition are needed from
Yeah,
Shannon to
big
come
time.
back. It's after what happened with the DWI or
Yeah.
the DUI. Because otherwise, I would say just keep the same cast, add Vicky as a B, and let's just call it a day and let the train keep
I
going.
do agree with you. If we're keeping the same cast, we don't need a new A cast. We don't need anybody.
No, because we're finally in a place with all of them. I gotta be honest. This might be shitty to say. I don't want to spend episodes getting to know someone and getting like. I feel like this was a good, in football
is.
terms, this is a rebuilding season.
Rebuilding, guys. We know it all too well.
We know it all too well.
10-minute version, Taylor Swift.
Jesus. And I want to continue to build on those blocks, you
Yeah.
know. And I don't want to throw a wrench in that.
No,
if Shannon
I
doesn't
agree.
come back, that's a smaller cast. Vicky is a B. I mean, look, if Shannon does take a pause, and we have Vicky and Taylor as Bs, and the 5 women that are still
That's
there,
enough.
I'm okay with that.
That's
I think
enough.
either way, I don't want another A cast member.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah. But okay, if you were to give a grade to the season overall,
Okay.
if we're doing final thoughts, what would your
Okay.
grade be?
I think for the entire season with the reunions, I'm going to give it a B.
Okay.
I'm going to give it a B. Not a B plus, but a B. I'm a nice 85.
Solid 85.
85, as Ramona would say. Okay.
85.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say B plus.
Okay.
I'm gonna say B plus.
You're an 89.
I'm
an 88.
I'm an 88er.
Okay.
I'm an 88er,
Okay.
let's say. No, you know what? I'm gonna say 89 because today is Taylor's release day.
Yes,
And
1989.
So I'm gonna
baby.
say a solid
I
89.
want to change my answer to 89 too.
Well, no. No backsies.
No, I stand firm at 85.
But I think it was a really solid season. I think it
was.
was refreshing. I think there was a lot of fun. There was a lot of laughs. There were activities, which I know you love.
Love the activities.
Heather in the fucking wetsuit,
the whale, her whale
the
costume.
whale costume, the slip and slide. I thought that it was solid.
Yeah.
And it left me very hopeful for moving forward.
Yeah, I agree.
OC, kudos. I think you did a really good job bouncing back. And 17 years in, I mean, it's not an easy thing
No.
to have any show on the air for this long. And I think that they did a really great job. So
Yeah. And now we have Beverly Hills to
look forward to.
I say look forward to, but stumble upon. We'll see what happens.
Well, that comes back next week, I think. Or is it the week
Really?
after?
That fast?
No,
God,
it's the week after.
don't
It's
know
not next week.
anything.
It's the week after. Next week we've got it is a dark week
Okay, good.
on that day.
Make it dark.
But yeah,
Ooh, well, guys,
that's OC, guys.
I hope y'all are still with us and hope you enjoyed the OC recap. We're sorry that we're getting it out a little late, but
And Southern Charm we recorded and is going to be coming as well.
Southern Charm is coming out. It's sometimes hard to coordinate with 3 people, and
Yeah,
everyone has their own schedule, and you gotta coordinate, you gotta juggle, but
we got to bob and weave
bob
where we
and
can.
weave. But we're gonna get this out to y'all. And any last words, thoughts, hopes
To friendships.
to friendships, wood ships,
And ships that sail the sea. But the best ships are friendships. And
Look at
may
me.
they ever be. Look at me.
Oh, yeah.
As Shannon would say, look at me.
Look at me. Look at me. Accountability. All right, guys. Well, since Lauren's not here, it falls on me.
It falls on
Please
you.
Like, subscribe, and leave a review for us wherever you listen to your podcast.
Yeah, give a
I was about
5-star
to say,
rating.
watch your podcast, which that shows you exactly where I am in
Well, we
life.
call them viewers instead of listeners sometimes.
All the time.
all
But
the time.
technically, guys, y'all are viewers because you're watching the shows.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're not. Maybe you're just tuning into us. And if that's the case, we love you even more.
We love you for it.
So,
Give us a 5-star.
yeah, leave us a cocktail.
Yeah,
or
Betsy's
buy us a
birthday
cocktail.
is this
Yeah,
weekend.
October 15th.
Donate a cocktail for the happy hour fund.
21. I'm finally of age
Ooh,
to drink.
big one.
Yes. Take me to
Yes.
Vegas.
Tear
Put
up the
me-
town.
Put me to sleep. But yeah. Thanks for always. Oh, did you want to say something?
No, go for it.
Oh, just thanks for always sticking around, listening to us, and Yeah, find us on Instagram, guys. Oh, by the way, I do know, I want to put this out there because I do know a few people have reached out on Instagram
To you.
with wanting a voice memo. It's coming. Okay, it's coming. I'm gonna send the voice memos after this podcast. So really, you'll get the voice memo before you're listening to this. But the disclaimer. Thank you, and I will be getting back to y'all as soon as possible. I appreciate it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
You'll get there. You'll
Yes.
get back to them. And I think there's been a couple that have been for me that I have been late on too.
Okay, well, come on, Eves.
We will both get back to people.
We will.
But yeah,
Between the two of us, we are almost a dream team.
or almost a dream person,
This just shows you how much Lauren actually does.
which is
Which is almost
everything.
everything.
All right. Thanks,
All right,
guys.
y'all. Bye.
Until next time.